Welcome to the Emily the Mystic Show. You're about to walk through a portal that leads to all things mystical, magical, spiritual, and supernatural. I'm your host, Emily. I'm a spiritual mentor, an Akashic Records practitioner and teacher, an intuition development coach, and a galactic channeler. If you're an old soul on a self-discovery and healing journey, you are in the right place. We'll be diving in deep to some of my favorite mystical topics, including manifestation, past lives, the spirit world, energy, and so much more. Get ready to embrace your inner mystic and live your most authentic life possible. The portal is now open. Hello, dear listener, and welcome to a really beautiful recap episode of me, my business, my life, and how much I have grown in the last 6 months. I thought it would be a really cool opportunity and idea to talk about what I've been working on over the last 6 months and how some of my shifts that I've made, how some of the work that I've been doing behind the scenes has kind of led to the evolution that you might be seeing in me on Instagram, on this podcast, all of those things, and just some of my reflections from where I have come over the last 6 months. I can't believe we are almost halfway through the year already. 2024 is going by so quickly, in my personal opinion. It just blows me away how fast this year seems to be moving. And I like to take the time to reflect and really look back with presence and new conscious awareness at where I was a few months ago and how I have been able to implement some different things in my life that have really worked for me, and how that has led to the Emily the Mystic that you're seeing today. As I'm filming this episode, it's the very beginning of June. You're going to be listening this in mid to late June. So I really hope that this kind of helps re-inspire you, reignites the spark within you, no matter what's going on in your life. I know one of the biggest things that I work with my clients a lot on is helping them regain their motivation and passion for life again. Sometimes we go through these phases of life where we really lose the zest and the passion and the excitement and the inspiration for what we're doing. And we kind of get to this energy of, what's the point of all this? Like, I'm working so hard, I'm doing the most, and I feel like I'm not gaining any kind of reward for my efforts, or I just feel bored. I feel like I've gotten as far as I can on this path that I'm on, and I'm just sort of bored of it, and I'm wondering what's next, and I don't really know what's next. I don't really know what I can do to kind of get myself out of this sort of funk that I'm in. I can tell you that I was very much in that energy a little over 6 months ago, last fall. I definitely felt like things were kind of shifting in a new direction for me. And I knew that I could really no longer stay on the timeline that I was on at that time. And I just, in a way, sort of felt like I was losing some of my passion and joy for my work. And as humans, we're going to go through these cycles. So I'm a human being too. I am not going to wake up every single day just so excited and inspired. I am also going to have moments where I'm just kind of feeling blah. I'm kind of feeling bored. But it's really in those moments. I love those moments so much because I know, now that I know myself and now that I've moved through this often, and you will know this too, when you're in those moments, it is such a powerful catalyst for transformation because you are on the precipice of doing things differently, seeing the world differently. You are about to get yourself out of that cycle and put yourself on a whole new timeline. You're about to go through a little bit of a death and rebirth, which was very much what I went through in the fall of 2023. And that's sort of where that led to where I am now. So I want to back up a little bit and kind of dive into what was going on for me during the fall of 2023 because it's all connected. Around eclipse season, I had just co-hosted a really fun witchy retreat with a friend of mine in upstate New York.
which was a really great experience. But I came back from that retreat and I was, again, not feeling inspired about what I was working on. I just felt kind of trapped in, and I will say, some of the communities that I was a part of at that time. And I felt like I needed a new direction for myself. And the eclipses during that time of the year, during the fall eclipse season of 2023, really started to nudge me in a whole new direction. So, to catch you up a little bit, I have been working with the Akashic Records since 2021. I've been doing Akashic Records readings since 2021. I started teaching the Akashic Records in late 2022 and was teaching within a group program, an Akashic Record system that somebody else created, an old mentor of mine created. And to be honest with you, I started to feel really stifled and stuck by the fact that I had to teach someone else's methodology for a tool and a modality that is so intimately connected to my soul and so a part of me and who I am and my soul's journey. I started to feel a little bit resentful. I will be honest with you that I was stuck teaching, in my perception, I was stuck teaching what someone else had created. And of course, I had gotten myself there. My journey took me to a place where I didn't feel comfortable teaching the Akashic Records on my own. I felt like I had this programming the Akashic Records are this insane modality that I didn't have the credibility or the authority to be able to teach. And so I had to teach someone else's system, and only that would make me credible. And at the time, that's what I needed to do to grow in confidence. But around the eclipses in fall of 2023, I really started to feel held back by that. And I really started to feel kind of stifled by the community that I was a part of, if I'm being very honest with you. And so the whisper of my intuition began to come through, and I started receiving messages that I needed to leave and that I needed to start teaching my own Akashic record system. Because obviously, teaching is a big part of my business. It is, being fully transparent with you, a big part of the income that I make. And I love it, and I'm passionate about it. I love teaching so much. And also, I needed to figure out something else. And I really felt I needed to take all of the wisdom and knowledge that I had learned and share it with you, my audience, in my own way. I would find that when I was teaching this old system, I would get really tripped up because I would say, well, this is my old mentor teaches it this way, but this is how I do it. Or she says this, but I actually really feel it's more like this. And my clients, I was noticing as I was teaching, especially the last round that I taught, could see in me that I was kind of biting at the bit to be able to share with them more information and a different perspective that I didn't have the ability to teach based on the manual that I was provided. And so my intuition was really nudging me to go off on my own. But here's the thing, I had been part of that community for several years. I had made a lot of friends in that community. I really trusted my mentor, and I had a really hard time with letting go, saying goodbye, and moving on. I have always worked with mentors as a business owner. That is a big part of what's gotten me to where I am today, is working with different teachers and mentors who have helped guide me and who have helped to hold the space for me. And so going off on my own and separating that from that community felt so scary. And there were so many times where I did not want to do it. I had so much resistance to going off on my own because I thought to myself, this is going to be the first time where I am not in any courses. I'm not in any other person's mentorship. I am not learning from anyone else right now. It's just me. And my guides were like, yeah, you need to learn how to do this, just you. So during the eclipse season, I could not ignore the nudges any longer. And I made the decision to leave that community and launch my own Akashic Records certification, which is what you see here now, which is what I have been talking about a lot on this podcast. And it's been such a transformational part of my journey and a big reason of why I have just been going up and up and up over the last 6 months is actually going off on my own because I'm at a point in business where I can only learn so much from other people before I need to implement things and embody things and do it my own way. And eventually, of course, I'll get to a point and I'll feel guided to work with someone new. But at this point in time, I am loving being a star warrior on my own, leading my own tribe. It feels so freaking good. And so what happened was I made the decision. I said goodbye to my mentor. I told them that I would no longer be teaching that old system. I was very transparent and said, I've been guided to teach my own system. That's what it is. I am a sovereign being. I can do whatever the heck I want. Of course, I'm not going to copy your work. Hell no. But I'm going to teach things in the way that I know. And I'm going to open my own channel and I'm going to teach things in the way that I know I need to teach them. And so that's where my journey at the beginning of 2024 began. Now, I needed to also go through a bit of an internal shift at the end of 2023 in order to really make that transition to teaching the Akashic Records on my own possible. Because I had a lot of fear. Genuinely, I had a lot of fear. I was really nervous that people wouldn't respect me as a mentor or that people wouldn't want to do my certification because it didn't have the backing of some massive company or mentor with a big name, a big following. And I was like, can I do this? Do I really have the capacity to create a whole certification with all of my knowledge? I also had a lot of fear around taking everything that I know and putting it into a tangible form because teaching, there's a difference between mentoring based on your knowledge and actually creating a course that is a physical, tangible, deliverable of all the information that you know. So I had a lot of fear around that. So I really did a lot of praying, to be honest with you. I prayed a lot to God's source, my guides, my angels. I was like, I need help. I need to be able to believe in myself, to be able to do this. And they led me to learning how to start implementing positive affirmations into my day-to-day life to help me really start to see that energy within myself. And I kind of came to this conscious awareness that what was missing for me was I was not seeing myself as an expert. I was putting all these mentors that I had worked with for years on a pedestal. I was seeing them as something outside of myself that I did not have the capacity to be. And that was killing me and also it was also really pulling my business down because felt like I was sort of following everybody else. And also, I knew that I needed to believe in me and start believing in myself as an expert. So I made the decision at the end of 2023. I made the decision that I am going to start believing in myself as an expert in my field. I am an Akashic Records expert. I basically have a PhD in the Akashic Records. I am so knowledgeable about this modality. I could go on for days and days and days. I could write a whole dissertation. I could build a whole frickin' 12-week course on this amazing modality. And so I started learning how to affirm and validate myself and my experiences by using affirmations on a daily basis in order to help rewire my brain to start believing in my success. So one course that I did purchase that really helped me at the time was I started, and I'm going to give her a shout out because her work has helped me so much. And again, I am honest with you guys about what I'm learning, who I'm working with, etc. I started learning from MK Mindset, Mary Kay of MK Mindset, who has an amazing YouTube channel. I really respect her. I see her as being such an influencer in terms of the manifestation community on YouTube. So she came out with this course at the end of November, and I was like, I know I need to do this. So I went ahead and did her manifestation course during the month of December, and it changed the game for me in so many different ways. I started implementing, she has all these affirmations that she has you work on, And implementing these affirmations was so life-changing for me. I can't even tell you. I started really believing in, and here I'm just going to give you a few because I love them so much and they may help you as well. So things like life is always working out for me. My success is inevitable. Everything is always being rearranged in my favor to work out for me in the best possible way. I am exactly where we need to be, and I am always meant to have what I want without question. I am also only available for my expectations to be exceeded, and I get paid generously for my work. So I started implementing those new beliefs into my daily practice. I was also doing daily breath work at the time, and the combination of both of those things really started to facilitate a big energetic shift. It was a big catalyst for me. I felt like I had stepped onto a whole new timeline. I had said goodbye to this old community. I had cut the ties. I started learning about implementing positive affirmations. I started doing the work to really lean into believing in myself. And I had to make the decision, yes, I can do this. Yes, I am an expert in the Akashic Records. Absolutely, I can teach this. And so at the beginning of 2024, I started teaching the Akashic Records. I also launched this podcast, which you know, and I started teaching light language. I also made the decision. I was like, you know what? If I'm an expert in my field, then I deserve to have a big social media following. So I also made the choice to align my energy and intentionally start working on manifesting a bigger Instagram following. So that was a big goal that I had for myself at the beginning of this year. Now, my body had other plans. I had, as you know, some fear around all of these things. And I kid you not, at the very beginning of January, I launched this podcast that you're listening to right now. The night after I launched my first 3 episodes, I came down with the worst rash I have ever had in my whole life. I was covered almost head to toe in itchy red welts, not hives, different than hives. But I had just my elbow, up to my elbows, my forearms, up and down my legs, even a little bit on my neck was just covered with this itchy rash that was keeping me from sleeping at night. I had to put ice packs on my legs. I was just so unbelievably uncomfortable. And of course, when you feel that way, you don't want to show up on camera. I was like, hell no, I don't want to be, on my stories. I don't want to be teaching, right? There's resistance that was coming up for me. My body was showing a lot of resistance. Yet I did it anyway. I still continued to show up. And so when that rash happened, I was like, okay, I have to get to the bottom of this. So this is what I do if I ever have a weird physical health symptom. I went into my own Akashic records. And what I discovered was that I had a past lifetime as a druid. I can't remember the country specifically, but it was either Ireland or Scotland. And as a druid, I could not pass down written records of my knowledge or information. And I also was deeply afraid of the Christianization at the time in that lifetime of the town that I lived near. The Celts, being a Celtic person in that lifetime with pagan beliefs, I felt like I could not be my true self in public for fear that something bad would happen to me or my family in that lifetime. So I very much practiced my druidic belief systems in secret to the point where I became very sick with a plague that gave me, as I'm sure you can probably guess, large rashes, welts, boils all over my body. And because I didn't want anyone to know about me, I refused to get medical help from the local town. I refused to seek any sort of medical care, and I died, which is really depressing. I died with all of this druidic knowledge, again, because the druids didn't keep written records of anything. And so I realized No wonder it's so traumatizing for my soul to launch a podcast and to have this big social media goal to be teaching this system of the Akashic records, because I have had lifetimes where things have gone horribly wrong for me being seen, being visible. And I kid you not, oh my gosh, I was just bawling my eyes out when I saw this lifetime. It was so emotionally intense in that moment. And then I kid you not, the next day, the rash starts to disappear. Day by day, from that point on, the rash started to go away. It started to disappear. And within a week, it was gone. So freaking crazy. So freaking crazy. So, with that in mind, I also at the time too, this is another whole other underlying factor. I've been going through my Saturn return for the last year. Technically, my Saturn return is now over, although Saturn is still in the sign of Pisces. So, as a Saturn and Pisces baby, for me, Saturn, the planet Saturn, is in my 11th house of social media networks and friends and community. So, when you go through a Saturn return, if you're not familiar, your Saturn return happens twice a lifetime, sometimes 3 times if you make it to be in your 90s, but it happens every 30 years. So around the time of your 30th birthday or a little bit before that, 27, 28, 29, you go through a big transition where you are forced to face a lot of lessons around an area of your life that your soul has chosen to master in this lifetime. So you can find this out by looking at your birth chart and seeing what house Saturn is in. So for me, Saturn is in my 11th house. And that house, as I said, is all about social media and community and friendships. And Saturn can tend to put a damper on things. So I have, for the last few years, really felt like Saturn has been holding me back in my perception, that I haven't been able to be as visible or as seen because, Saturn is really restricting me and holding me back, and, all of these things that I really told myself. And so my Saturn return finally wrapped up at the end of 2023. And I started to see a big shift in how I was showing up in relationships, and also how I was showing up with launching a podcast, on my Instagram stories, and even in my interpersonal relationships. I turned 30 in February of this year of 2024. And turning 30 was such a big deal because when you have a milestone birthday, your default setting is, at least for me, I want to celebrate, I want to have a party. And then all of a sudden I had to think, oh my God, if I have a party, who the heck am I going to invite? And I don't know about you, but if you have a lot of resistance to big parties because of your childhood, you didn't like being the center of attention, or you were afraid that people weren't going to come to your birthday party, that can create a lot of fear. So coming up with an idea for my birthday, holding a party for myself, inviting people that really felt aligned was such a beautiful way to tie up the loose ends and really come to conclusion of my Saturn return. It was almost for me like things had come full circle. I had felt sort of lonely and isolated, and like I didn't have some of the friendships that I wanted to have, especially at the beginning of my Saturn return. And then towards the end, I finally felt and still feel like I'm really part of a community. And better yet, like I am leading a community. I needed to be the one to hold the party for myself, because it really showed me even deeper levels of my leadership abilities to be able to bring together a group of women to celebrate. So with all of that being said, finally kind of wrapping up that energy, I started to feel this shift in how I was showing up again on social media, which really began to propel my success with Instagram specifically. And I started seeing that I was gaining traction with my audience and really starting to figure out how I can show up in an authentic way and also give my audience what they want and give them something that they're going to love, that they're going to enjoy, that they're going to share with their friends, that they're going to post to their stories. And I really started to gain confidence in my content on social media and started to have more fun with it. This year, I've really been focusing on how can I make life more fun? I am done. Again, I am not taking anyone else's courses right now. I don't have any mentors right now. I am done by feeling restricted by somebody else. I'm done. I went through Catholic school for 12 years. Like, this little rebel over here is so over it. I am really just leaning into me being a sovereign being and me leaning into how can I make life as fun and enjoyable as possible and live it on my terms. And really enjoying Instagram from that perspective of like, hey, I can show up here and I am not, worried about, oh my God, is somebody watching what I'm posting? And no, I'm showing up and I'm posting authentically because it feels fun. It feels light. It feels like something that I want to do authentically. And so, with that in mind, I'm so excited. I'm sure you've seen that I have grown my following a lot. I went from something like 3,000 followers a year ago to now I have almost 15,000 followers, which is amazing. Of course, I want to continue to grow and grow and grow from there. But I really feel like I've discovered what works for me in terms of the perfect combination of Instagram strategy as well as the visibility piece. Of course, you have to do the healing around this topic, visibility in particular. Otherwise, you may develop a rash like I did and feel really held back by being able to show up. And along the way, I mean, it's been so cool for me now in June to look back with hindsight just to see how much I've grown and have evolved and have really grown into this newfound level of confidence within myself. And I would say if you are an entrepreneur listening to this or someone who's thinking about starting a business or you just want to gain more traction in your career or be visible in some capacity, the biggest key is really growing in confidence in yourself and believing in yourself. And I know it's hard to get there. It's really uncomfortable. And I still go through new evolutions of it at every turn. I mean, I can even look back at how I was showing up in April and be like, whoa, I've even changed so much since then. And so if you are in that place wanting to gain more success, wanting to feel like you're kind of reaping the rewards of the work you're putting in, you're really going to have to go inwards. And you're really going to have to take a look at, where am I holding myself back? Do I really believe in myself? Do I really believe in my gift? Do I really believe in my capacity to help others? And if no, what part of me is holding me back? And what does she or he or they need? What do they need from me? Is it compassion? Is it love? I also know from doing this work, and now that again, going back to this podcast, I had a moment where I had a lot of fear before launching this. And so I had to go inwards and ask myself, where is this fear coming from? And what showed up for me was a 13-year-old version of myself who felt so awkward and uncomfortable in her body and who did not want other people to see her. And when I had a conversation with her in meditation, she was like, if you launch the podcast, then people will see me. And she didn't want that. So I had to tell her, it's safe. It's okay. You are safe. You will be just fine with this podcast getting launched. In fact, you're going to love it because people are going to actually get to know the real you. And she loved that. She was so excited about that part of things. She was like, really? People will understand me? And I was like, yeah, they need this because they're just like you. And she was so happy to hear that. So we have to have these conversations with those parts of ourselves that don't believe in us, that have the fear, that would rather crawl in a corner and hide and lock themselves into their bedroom for days at a time. Trust me, I've been there. And discover what those parts of ourselves are needing and desiring. And so now it's June and I have wrapped up teaching the first round of my Akashic Records certification, certifying 7 students, which is amazing. All of the women are incredible and so gifted at what they do. I have a profile of all of them on my website. I'll leave the link for that below in the show notes. And also on my Instagram page, you can go and look and see my certified students and read their bios and some information about them. And it is just so cool to me now. I'm creating my own community. I've got my own little neck of the woods over here when it comes to the Akashic Records. And it feels so dang good. And to have, oh my gosh, 7 people signed up for the next round is unbelievable. And of course, calling in more. So, and I know by the time this episode will be released, you will not be able to join this current round of the mentorship, but you will be able to join the next round in the fall. So make sure that you send me a DM to let me know that you're interested, and I'll add you to the wait list because I will be teaching this again in the fall of 2024. Now, with all of that being said, I do want to share that I felt guided to create a special mini course for you, especially when it comes to social media and growing your following on Instagram specifically, because this is something that I have really enjoyed learning how to do this year. And I want to be able to share with you all of my wisdom and knowledge. I thought about filming a podcast episode about my Instagram success and talking about it, but there's so much that goes into it, so many things that I want to share with you, not just the strategy, but also the energetics point of view, that I decided to create a whole course around it where there is a lot of value packed in there. So I'm excited to share with you that you can now purchase my 10K Vibes Instagram Mastery course for spiritual entrepreneurs. That's going to help you grow your Instagram following and become more visible and be seen for doing your soul's work here on this planet. It is a jam-packed training, hours of information, workshops, and meditations to help you do the past life work like I told you and that I did in this podcast episode, and to help you visualize and see the version of you that you are becoming, to help you bridge that gap. Because if you are not where you want to be in terms of your success, there is a gap there. And we need to internally learn who that person, that version of you is first, so that you can start having the awareness of where you're going in order to bridge that gap. And that's really what I talk a lot about in the training. And then we do a meditation that helps you visualize it so you can get clarity on who she is, who they are, who he is, and how you can become that version of you, and what to do on your Instagram page, your aesthetics, your logo, the symbols that you use, all of that to help you create an Instagram page that feels authentic and beautiful for you and for who you are. So I'm really excited to share this mini course with you. It is at a special price right now of $97. That's it, $97 for hours of trainings and meditations. I have put so much love and energy into this course. And if you are wanting to grow your Instagram following, I can't guarantee that you're going to gain 10,000 followers immediately from doing this course. But I do know that it will help you enjoy showing up on social media so much more, because you're going to gain clarity around how you uniquely are meant to show up. That way, that will help reignite your spark and your passion and your zest for life again, which is what this episode is all about, is how I was able to do that, how I was able to help see that within myself and then implement that and take that into my business practices and be able to show up in a whole different way so that you notice and so that you want to spend more time with me, getting to know me and my energy. And therefore, I hope that this can have an effect on you. I hope this rubs off on you so that you can really start to gain your own success internally. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you learned a lot from what I shared. I just looked at the clock as I am filming this and it said 33:11, which is so freaking cool. Perfect angel numbers to end this episode. So go off, take some of the guidance that I shared with you, implement it, check out the Instagram training. You're going to love it. It's super awesome. And enjoy. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now. And before I close the portal today, I have to introduce you to this new product that I have been absolutely loving, which is Shilajit resin. an Ayurvedic medicinal supplement that I put in my tea every single morning. You guys know that I don't push products that I don't love. However, this one is changing my life. It contains powerful antioxidants, trace minerals, and fulvic acid to help the body reduce inflammation, improve daily detoxing, increase energy levels, and so much more. Shilajit is specifically known to help with heart health. And for me, I have struggled with heart palpitations and daily anxiety for a lot of my life. And this stuff helps my body feel calmer. It reduces my anxiety. It reduces my daily symptom load of palpitations and also increases my energy throughout the course of the day so that I feel like I have more consistent, maintained energy. I cannot recommend this stuff for you guys for heart health and energy. Of course, speak with your doctor before you try any new supplements, but I would love for you to give this one a go by giving you a 10% off code with Emily 10 off at checkout. That's Emily 10 off at checkout. I will leave the link below in the show notes. Give this one a try. I cannot wait for you to feel its effects.